Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Mind Life Bliss Listen to Young Minds. And today's episode is all about fear and anxiety. डर तो सबको लगता है, but we all need to understand that fear is a very normal and healthy emotion. For example, if you are having a fear of large barking dogs, so it is to keep you safe. There are many kids who are afraid of bees and wasps, but it is okay. It is just to keep them safe. A healthy fear of fire, the fear of large vehicles on the road, it's all to keep us safe. But the problem comes when this fear grows, keep on growing daily on continuous basis and become a big monster in front of you. Then becomes so important to overcome that fear, to break that fear, because now this fear is stopping you to take certain actions. So today's topic is all about overcoming fear and anxiety. And the interesting part in today's episode, our guest, as our practice, she's a young girl and she would be discussing her thought process about this so sensitive topic, that how see fear in her eyes, what's the ways by which she overcomes the fear. So without wasting a time, let's welcome our today's guest, Miss Yana Kalra. So hello everyone, let's welcome our today's guest, Miss Yana Kalra. So before we dive into this topic of fear and anxiety, Yana, just please introduce yourself so that everybody knows about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Yana Kalra. I study in grade 7 and I'm about to be promoted to grade 8 in a few weeks. Some of my hobbies are sketching, reading, and I really love dancing. I really like studying too, one thing which most people don't, but I actually find it studying quite interesting. I study in Delhi Public School, Faridabad. I have many friends. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can sense that you have many friends. I don't know why, don't ask me the reason. Okay, so let's move into this topic,
Um,
Yana. Yeah, today's topic is all about fear and anxiety. So, what has been usually seen that when a child is small at a early age, the small child, small babies, they are having the fear of noise and the fear of falling down. If they walk, they will fall down. So these kind of fears are normal fears which are just for their safety reasons, and it's okay. But when the child grows, when the child reaches to the age of 7 to 8 years, they start developing new types of fear on the basis of their experiences and their environment. So, my question is, according to you, what are the common fears which a child develops, which are not inherent? And what are the common fears you see in the teenagers nowadays?
So nowadays, I feel that one of the topmost fears is the fear of not fitting in. Like sometimes, me too, on a personal standard, I'm telling you that I do feel there are instances when I feel that I'm not fitting in, be it in dancing or sometimes in studying, very rarely. But yes, that I'm not fitting in, everybody is so good, I'm not. It's really just self doubt. The other person may not be thinking it that way, but you doubt yourself because you know your capabilities. You're not ready to accept your capabilities, and sometimes you do, but you just don't feel comfortable with yourself.
And any other kind of fear you have seen in some small kids, like between the age of 7 years to 10 years? Any kind of fears you have seen in those age groups?
Yes. What I have seen is that these children, they sometimes hesitate from maybe talking to their seniors in schools, in talking to their teachers in the senior wing. Sometimes they are scared of meeting new people, meeting new friends, making new friends, widening their social circle. These are the mostly I've seen such kind of fears in children about 7 to 8 years old.
Very particular observations, Yana, you are having about the different age groups of the children. Very specific observation. And in fact, I wanted to ask you what kind of fears you are having. And you have already mentioned one fear of yours, that you have sometimes fear of not fitting into. Any other fear you find in yourself particularly?
Honestly, I don't really have a fear, any particular fear. Like, I'm not scared of the dark or any insects or anything. Of course, I'm not keen on touching them. But yeah, like a few years back, I had changed my school. So those few months were actually quite a bit hard because I didn't have much friends in my new school, and I just don't didn't feel like I didn't feel like talking to anybody and all. But eventually, I did make great friends, and they are my friends till date. So yes, they're quite truthful.
Wonderful. So, in which grade you changed your school?
I was in third grade when I changed my school. I came to Delhi Public School, Faridabad in fourth.
Okay. And in that grade, you was having that kind of fear. And the most interesting part, you are just admitting that I'm having those fear. That's phenomenal, Yana. Great. Wonderful. Okay. So I'm coming to my next question. Actually, whenever we are discussing about fears, we use the three important words which are just related to fear. We call it a fear, we call it a phobia, and sometimes we call it anxiety as well. So I just want to know your perspective that all these three terms, are these terms related? And if yes, then how? What do you think about it?
I feel that somewhat these terms are related. Fear is like being scared of something which occurs to you as dangerous or maybe just scary, like plain scary. These fears, if you occur to be in that uncomfortable situation again and again, you develop a phobia. Like there was also one point in time when I was learning to swim and I was just like, I was scared of the water. Like it was 12 feet deep, and I was like, no, I don't want to go there. So, yes, I was scared. Like it turns into a phobia, which causes anxiety. I started crying. Like I didn't want to go. So, eventually, what I feel is that fear turns into a phobia, which causes anxiety, causing pressure on your mental and physical health both.
Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed to listen these words from a class 8 student, which is affecting your mental health. Phenomenal.
No, it didn't
Serious
really affect my mental health, but I'm just talking in general. It was like I was scared of the water. I didn't want to go and swim.
means that depth of awareness this young generation is having, that's phenomenal. That fear turns to phobia and phobia turns to anxiety. If you are in that state of awareness, so that is phenomenal. That is too good, undoubtedly. Okay.
Thank you so
Means I'm not feeling that I'm interacting with young kids. It's so nice. Okay, I'm moving to the next question. Uh, what happens actually? We are the generations. We are developed from our forefathers, and if you go back to million years ago, when the humans, our ancestors, they used to live in the forest, and they were having their topmost fear that what will happen if the wild animals will come, if the tigers and lions will come, I'll be killed. So they were having their topmost fear is fear of survival. That was their biggest fear. But nowadays we are living in a safe zone. We are not having any these kind of wild animals. All the wild animals are in zoo only. So what do you think nowadays? What kind of survival fear the kids are having? And what do you think? What are the predators? Because lions and tigers are nowhere.
So yeah, I feel that today's world is not entirely a safe zone because the lions and tigers may not be there, but there is an increasing rate of crime in the world. Like sometimes when the children are in their houses, like just the parents just start leaving them in the houses alone for about 15 to 30 minutes in the beginning only when they're young. They feel a little scared that what if somebody comes, what if somebody barges in. People, children with younger sibling, they also have that responsibility that take care of them also. So there, I feel that this is one of the fears, survival fears, which occurs in children. And another one is that children are sometimes scared of going out of their colonies and societies because they're scared of course, the rate, like the crime rate. Like, what if somebody just like they're scared because there are many people around. You don't know who is who, what kind of personality someone is having, and the world is just full of strangers. You, of course, it's natural to be scared of such things. So these are the two fears which I have noticed a lot in children. in the Gen Z. So yeah,
It means the fear of people is the survival fear is nowadays. There are no
yes,
physical
exactly.
tigers and lions, but there are many tigers and lions in the humans community. That's what the kids perceive nowadays. But it's
One
very
more
dangerous.
thing that yes, one more thing that not only physically these people can be there, but in online social websites also, like Facebook, Snapchat, and all these, they can fear they can have this fear that of online bullying. This occurs a lot in children, and as well as children about 20 to 20 21 years old, adults about 20 to 21 years old. So it doesn't have to be necessarily have to be physical, it can be online as well.
Very sensitive topic you have touched, Yana, the online bullying. And you are going to a very higher age. Even I believe the kids start doing social media at a very early stage nowadays. They start making
Yeah.
their social profiles, I believe, at the age of 13 and 14. And they feel scared. That's a very, very sensitive issue which you have addressed today, undoubtedly. And one more fear you mentioned in your earlier statements, that fear of missing out. And nowadays we see that most of the children having this FOMO, and we use this word FOMO nowadays. So and this FOMO is known to create a lot of anxiety. So can we understand what is the main reason of this FOMO? Why the kids are feeling they are missing out something? What happens? I mean, if I go back to my earlier age, we were not having that kind of FOMO or fear. We were not knowing what is this.
So I feel that there is not really any root cause for FOMO. What I feel is that in today's world, there is a lot of competition, not only in schools and institutions, but also in professional offices and all. But it can also be that you doubt yourself. The other person may be okay with whatever your standards are, whatever your capabilities are. They may be absolutely comfortable. In fact, they may even try to comfort you when you're feeling scared or anything like that. But you yourself, you doubt your capabilities, and if you feel that you are missing out, you are not fitting in, you actually perform worse than what you can actually do. You can
True.
excel
Yeah.
at a job, you can excel at a task, but thinking that no, I won't be able to do it because everybody else is just so great than me, you won't be able to excel at the task which you may actually, if you didn't think of it at all in the first place, you may be at the top.
So I believe you said that there are no root cause, but you mentioned many root causes now,
Self
which I
doubt,
could, yeah,
like
self doubt.
like
It's
self doubt.
it's a biggest thing. Self doubt is killing the people's capabilities, killing their innovative behavior. Undoubtedly, undoubtedly, very good point you mentioned here. And I'm especially worrying about this generation, which we call the Gen Z, the post millennials, and the Gen Tech generation, the young peoples of today, which you are also addressing nowadays. And it is being mentioned nowadays again and again that this generation is a generation of stress. They take a lot of stress for everything. That oh my god, what will happen if I don't study well? What will happen if this thing will not come to my life? They take a lot of stress for all these things. So do you agree with this, that this particular generation is a generation of stress? And why so? Why they are taking that much of stress?
So I don't totally agree with this, not totally, of course, to some part, yes, because it's really how you interpret life, it's how you perceive life. It's like some person can be very serious, take everything so seriously that they completely miss out the fun of life. I mean, I personally feel that you should just, okay, you're there will be hardships in your life, but just let it go and be happy. So it's not an entirely a generation of stress. It really depends from person to person. But yes, the people who do find anxiety and stress in today's society, I think it's because of all the competition that is there. And to overcome it, I think what we need to do is, it mostly works. Imagine the worst case scenario. And if you do that, it may not turn out to be that bad at all. I mean, you prepare yourself that what is the maximum thing that can happen? Like if you're studying, what can happen? You won't get about 50%. That's it. It's okay. Nobody is going to, when you go into college, nobody's going to judge you that, oh my God, you got 50% in seventh grade. Nobody's going to say that.
Yes, very true, very true. And I love your replies. I love the way you are explaining the topics. And now, a very important question from my side. See, you have mentioned a cycle, you have mentioned a hierarchy. That first come the fears, then it turns to phobia, then it turns to anxiety. And what has been seen then when the people become so anxious? So, anxiety has been taken as a disorder nowadays, and when it crosses certain level, so then the people needs to go for the specific consultations for taking out of this anxiety, for coming out of that zone. But for the young generation, if we address it at the fear level only, we don't let it go from the fear to phobia, so certainly it won't go to the anxiety level. So any specific thing comes to your mind, that how we can stop it at the fear level only, so that it doesn't comes out to be an anxiety, how we can address the fears.
So as I mentioned earlier, that I think that we should imagine the worst case scenario. If you are developing a fear that like you're in a dance, you don't perform well, what is the worst that can happen? You just mess up completely really bad. Nobody's going to know who you are. So I think that that fear, you can address it by imagining the worst case scenario, and then I feel that it will not turn into a phobia later on in the future, because you'll already be prepared for what will happen. You will be prepared that what's the maximum thing what that can happen. Nobody's going to judge me, like I said earlier.
Yeah, so it means
And
what we,
even,
yeah, yeah, please.
and sometimes when we do develop fears, I think we should face them at least once. If you do
Hmm.
that, you actually develop a lot of courage, so it will help you throughout your lifetime. But of course we should be trying that we don't develop the fears at all in the initial stage.
Yeah, and your last point I liked a lot, and I believe that's very important thing, that if you have any fear, just face it. Just face that challenge so that it goes out completely from your life. That's a wonderful point, that face it. And now we are going towards the end of this conversation, though it's very, very interesting. You would have seen many times, matlab, you just go to your earlier times, your childhood times. Many times, whenever we are giving any task to the kids, we just attach fear with it. We just say ki study, otherwise you will fail. So we are telling to do something, but we are attaching fear with it. So, do you think that attaching fear with every activity, walk carefully, otherwise you will fall? So, it means we are telling the kids, do this, otherwise you will fail. Do that, otherwise there will be a fear. So, we are attaching fear with all kinds of activity. So, do you think that this kind of analogies are good? And do the parents, the elders, and everybody in the society needs to understand that rather than attaching fear, can we attach the pleasures, the incentives, the joy to every activity, so that the generation doesn't grow up with the fear, they grow with the joys of activity? And what's your message to the parents who are continuously attaching fears, and how the perspective of the parents can be changed, and how the perspective of the kids or the youngsters can be changed about this important issue?
Yes. So on a personal level, I feel that I don't think that the parents would want their children to develop fears. So of course, they definitely would have started with attaching joy, but then children can be very stubborn. So they eventually go on doing what they want, and so they have to do something to get them into control. I still don't feel that it's the right way to do it, but then sometimes you don't really have a choice. You need to look for the welfare and the well-being of your children. I We can attach joy with such things like walk carefully and tell them the benefits of walking. I think they will be quite. I personally am quite amused with all of the benefits we can have in simple day-to-day tasks, like sorting out your books. You do that, you'll Otherwise, your mind would be so cluttered that when you think of the disadvantages, you're like, okay, it's better to do this.
Nice. Means in the entire conversation, na, I like few words. The how it will affect your mental health, your mind would be cluttered. And amazing. You are having very good understanding about this topic of fear and anxiety. Even I think that the listeners who would be listening to this conversation and they will feel that, oh my God, a girl who is going to be in 8th class is giving such kind of insights about this very, very sensitive topic. So anything else from your side at the end so that we can finish that conversation? Any other message from your
Um, all
side?
I'd like to say, all I'd like to say is that if try not to develop fears. If you do, just face it once and for all, and they'll just go away. Nothing will happen really. If you just face it once, you will develop courage, which will help you throughout your lifetime. So, of course, if you feel anxious or something like that, I say talk to someone who is close to you, who you are comfortable with, and I also feel that there should be one person in our lives with a probably preferably inside the family. If not, then it's totally fine. Who you can share with whom you can share everything, so that they can share
Wonderful.
your fears and your sadnesses. So
Usually,
that's all I
Anna,
have to
at
say.
the end of the podcast, I try to give some message. But in this podcast, I believe no message is needed from my side. You have given enough messages in this entire conversation that whenever you are having a fear, just face it. That's the ultimate message from her side to everyone. Just face it, just shatter it, and just remove it completely, because developing fear inside you is not an under control, but once it is inside you, it is only you who can shatter it. It is only who can just remove it from your life if it has started creating problems for you. So phenomenal, awesome. And for the other listeners, for other kids, if you want to speak on this kind of interesting topic in this podcast, so you can write to us. The mail ID and the Google form is in the description. You can write, you can connect with us through the mails, through the Google ID, Google Forms. And yes, this particular episode, do not forget to like and share, because you will get important points how you can overcome fear. And yes, certainly you can subscribe so that listen to these young generation, that what they think about the mental peace and everything. Phenomenal, amazing. Thank you, Yana.
Thank you.